wait times at the HCA East Florida Hospital emergency rooms average in the single digits, less than 10 minutes. It'll come in handy for your family one day. Just go to hcaeastflorida.com. There they list all their wait times for all the hospital emergency rooms, and they update them every 30 minutes. Put that in your smartphone, hcaeastflorida.com.
Very important.
Yeah, it is. And our thanks to our friends at Still Maria 104.
Love them.
Located in Midtown Miami, led by Chef Angelo Masserin, known for homemade pastas, cured meats, other delicacies. Constantly changing their menus, too. And authentic salumi and cheeses. Still Maria brings the concept of an Italian trattoria to life. StillMaria104.com, you can find them. Go in and mention Brenda and I, eat this, drink that, go, or just say Amore, and they'll give you something special.
Yeah,
right?
you
Make
get
sure
something
do that.
special.
They're right in Midtown Miami, easy to go. This segment brought to you by National Distributing Company. Their roots extend before Prohibition, second largest distributor of premium wines and spirits in the United States. And their motto, Brenda, is?
If it's fun, we're doing it right.
That's it. Go to rndc-usa.com and follow them on social media, RNDC_USA.
And we're having fun.
We are. And one of the things that we love most about RNDC is that they distribute wines from Nazaré. And we're really pleased to be joined by Giovanni Molinari, who is just a wonderful man, a gentleman, and a very gracious host. He hosted our group when we were there in Greve in Chianti, a beautiful little city, just a couple of months ago. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Brenda.
It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, after a month or so, right?
Exactly.
We tasted about a dozen wines, I think, that day. How many different wines do you make?
Well, we make more, but I figured because you were not spitting at the time that, and you had to drive, so we just only settled for 12.
It's a good 12 wines. It's a good idea. Now, your family, the Molinari name, is very, I think, for Americans who like wine, they know the name. Your family sold that many, many years ago, and then you and your dad started this one up. Right?
Exactly. That's a long story. But before that, I want to thank, like you mentioned before, Republic National, because they've been our distributor for a long time, and you know they made it happen. So we have to thank them, along as our importer, which is Cobra Corporation from New York,
which are great
with which
company.
we've been working with, believe it or not, for almost 50 years.
Wow.
So that's good. We like these type of partnerships.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you also do something different with the Nazaré wines. It's a grouping. You might find one that says Nazaré. You might find one that says Cabrera. And other names as well?
Yes. Now let's go back to the story, which is the most complicated part, the family story.
Right.
As usual.
Always.
As usually happens in Italy, right?
Yes.
So no, I'm the 8th generation of my family involved in the wine business. Now, one thing you might think is a lot, but you know sometimes in Italy or Tuscany it can be even more. Anyway, let's call it average. For Tuscany, okay?
It says here 250 years.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
We're an old country.
Yes,
you know? That's what happens. So the nice thing about my family is that they always looked at the market, which is something that doesn't happen very often because you know Italians or other old world wine producing countries tend to be very snob about their heritage and they don't want to change. But my family always looked at the market. The market has changed a lot in these past 200 years. So we went from Molinari to Ruffino, which is also another major wine-producing company in Tuscany, in this case.
Right.
And now to the Molinari Estates, Ambrogio Giovanni Molinari Estates. The reason is because the consumer has gone more and more into drinking less, but more refined, more particular, more concentrated, more complex wines.
And yours are estate wines, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So before, with the Molinari brand, we were mostly producing beverage wine in different style and bigger quantities.
Mass produced.
Yes. So it's very difficult for wine that the image on wine is very, very important. It's difficult to go from one type of product to another, especially if you're going up the scale of the quality and the distinguishy. So my grandfather in the 60s preferred to sell the company and to concentrate more on Ruffino, which was a Chianti producer, one of the largest, and the estate wines. Like you mentioned before, Jimmy, by estate wines, we mean wines coming from a winery, a small winery that has its own vineyards and it grows its own grapes. Then in 2000, my family split up because, you know, the good thing about the family is the history and the tradition. The bad thing is that every generation increases in number to the point where it's very difficult to take decisions because everybody wants to take part of it, even if they're not skilled or
Right,
whatever.
right.
And the Italians like to do that by arguing forever and moving those hands around. And I'm trying to hold on to my hands right now because I want to avoid that.
You're being so politically correct.
I'm trying to be diplomatic.
Yes.
So basically what happened was in 2000, my family split up and me and my father left the rest of the group and we wanted to concentrate exclusively on the estates. Leaving the others with Rufino, which now they sold to a major American company, Constellation Group.
Yes.
But we're still there. We're still working, and our focus now is on estate wines. Wines made with our own grapes coming from our own vineyards.
And your father's name's Ambrosio.
Ambrogio. Ambrogio, yes.
What a beautiful name, though.
That's a typical name from the north, from Lombardy. So
really?
not very common in Tuscany, whereas Giovanni, it's more of a basic national.
It's like John Smith in Miami. Yeah, that's exactly
Almost,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, or
Giovanni
Juan,
Rossi,
or
yeah.
Juan Perez. Yes,
Yeah,
the same thing.
yeah.
Now, when we were there at the estate, we tried this first Chianti, and again, we saw the vineyards, we saw the grape being grown, and this first one is made right on that premise, right outside
Exactly.
of Greve and Chianti.
Exactly.
I remember we found out
that's
there's no pesticides are allowed.
Well,
right?
no, that's not true. There is a very strict control on pesticides.
Right.
So the people are really worried about the impact on the soil and on the product.
Right.
So it's very strict, and that means you need to have a lot more labor in the vineyards, and the vineyards need to be raised and made and planted for quality.
Right.
Otherwise, it's very
And the
difficult to manage.
irrigation?
The irrigation is
Irrigation
not
is
allowed.
not allowed, and it's not used in many places, so it makes it a little complicated, especially when you have a lot of clay.
Very complicated.
Yeah, because you can have drought problems.
Right, unless there is a severe drought, and then the consortium will allow you to use it.
Exactly, just for emergency.
All right, this is the label. Now, this is the label that's been around for a while. I know you're going to be changing the label in,
Yes.
in future years, right?
Oh my God, it's going to be a big change.
Well, when that happens, we'll have
You have
that
to come
your
back.
wine back.
Oh,
on. We'll do it.
yeah.
And we have to go back there. One of
Oh
these.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
This is a classic a Chianti Classico.
Yes.
It's just absolutely beautiful bottle of wine, grown right there in the estate, just a few miles from the town of Greve in Chianti, which is the heart of Chianti Classico, correct?
Exactly. It's because Chianti Classico, Classico means classic, which is the oldest part of Tuscany that grows Chianti grapes and makes Chianti wine.
Right.
And that's the area, only the area goes from Florence to Siena. So it's almost 1/3 of the size of the entire Chianti, but it's the most distinguished one.
Right.
So, and Greve, Castellina, Panzano, that's right in the middle of it.
Which all beautiful small towns.
Beautiful, beautiful area.
Well, may we try your?
Sure.
And give me what do you call it? It's just a Nazole Chianti Classico.
Okay, well, first of all, Nozzole, it's our largest estate. Like we were mentioning before, me and my father now are concentrating on estate wines. We own 6 different wineries throughout Tuscany of different sizes. This is the largest one. We've been producing Chianti Classico mostly from here, but we also have a Chardonnay and a Super Tuscan, one of those IGT wines. For many years. As a matter of fact, when my grandfather bought Nozzole in 1971, it was already represented very well in this country by Cobran from the previous owner. So that's why I was mentioning before that our relationship has been very, very durable and long.
yeah.
Right.
Now, the Chianti Classico, the nice thing about this type of wine, first of all, it has changed a lot. So it's not anymore the typical Chianti that was sold in the 50s and 60s, one of those straw bottles, which are so cute, but the quality of the wine was not. So most people were buying the bottle to keep the bottle and put a candle in it. So now things have changed a lot. So the wine is a lot more distinguished, has a great elegance, great style, and it's in our case is made 100% with our most important indigenous variety, which is Sangiovese. Okay, you could use a minimum of 80% of Sangiovese, but we prefer to use 100% on this because we think the wine that way will have even a stronger identity related to the territory, which is what we want.
Right.
I always say that there is 3 things in wine to make it big: the quality, which most people know, the identity, because with all the wine is made in the world, it's very difficult to stand out.
Right.
And the elegance. We need that acidity at the end to make it food friendly, not a fruit bomb.
Right.
Okay, so let's try it.
And this is exactly what you get out of this Nazole Chianti Classico. You can find it in many places in South Florida. Rosanelli's Market on Alton Road in South Miami, a wonderful Italian market. Just went by and saw this on the shelf, and I said to them,
Right.
you know, he's coming to town this week, so cheers.
And this is a
Cheers.
Reserva.
Yes.
Explain that.
Reserva means it has to be at least 2 years old, counting from the 1st of January after the vintage. So compared to a regular Chianti Classico, obviously it's a more distinguished, a more complex wine, because when you finish the harvest and start fermenting, after the fermentation is over, you go through all the lots of wine you just made, you taste them and you decide which one it's better, and therefore which one is suited to keep one more year of aging
For a
Reserva. So usually Reserva
okay.
is a more
You're holding
distinguished,
back.
more high end,
Right.
and you do extra aging on it.
And no
Okay.
wonder, this is a marvelous
This is
bottle of wine.
gorgeous.
And this is, you know, you talk about food friendly. It does have that
Yeah.
acidity at the back end.
And a beautiful nose.
And it's got the classic Chianti flavors to it as well. It's a beautiful bottle of wine.
Thanks.
I know. Oh, that's good. I hate to use my
All right,
dump bucket.
we've got 4 minutes left, Brenda. You got to use your dump bucket. We've got
My
these other
goodness,
two.
I hate this.
And you'll be seeing more of Giovanni on the Beach Channel as we go through the
Yes.
next couple of months. All right,
So what's next?
this is the one we tried with the tacos. Now tell us
Right.
about this.
Okay, this is also a wine from Tuscany. This comes from the coast of Tuscany, south of Livorno. So it's different area, different soil, completely different soil, much looser, more fertility. But most important, not just the climate and the soil, is a completely different varietal.
Right.
So in this case, we don't have any Sangiovese. We have only Bordolese varietals. This is a Merlot predominant, then we have Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and a little bit of Petit Verdot. You might ask, why you do that in Tuscany?
Yeah.
Well, we love our
Sounds like a
region.
California blend.
Or Bordeaux.
It's a Bordeaux blend, classic Bordeaux blend.
We believe that Tuscany has a great potential for both traditional varietals or innovative international varietals, and we still are able to make a wine with a good identity, even though it's made with Merlot and Cabernet. So we love this area. Of course, this is an area that became famous 50 years ago thanks to an icon wine from Italy called Sassicaia. And we are right in the same area that is called Bolgheri. It's around a small town named Bolgheri, and the potential there for wines, Bordolese blended made, so with Cabernet, Merlot, it's fantastic.
It's a beautiful bottle of wine. I get Campo de Mare from Bolgheri.
Campo al Mare means land by the sea, which obviously makes sense because it's very close to the sea. And the style, it's completely different from the Chianti.
Right,
So it's
absolutely.
a more ripe fruit, softer tannins, more concentration, a little bit of iodine from the sea. So it's a nice alternative to the typical Chianti wines.
It's also a very good food wine, too.
Yes.
And we've got about 2.5 minutes left. Tell us about this. This is the Cabrero.
Okay, Cabreo, which is the name of the old ancient maps that describe the properties in the estates.
Right.
We picked this name.
Interesting.
We picked this name because we want to show that the specific origin of the grapes of this wine. This is a high-end wine. These two are our mid-range. This is a high-end in our portfolio. Comes from Greve in Chianti. The vineyards are very close to Nozzole. They're about 6 kilometers apart. And this is one of those IGT wines that came out in the 70s and 80s that were nicknamed Super Tuscans, were wines different from anything that has produced until then in the area. And this is a blend. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon Sangiovese. 70% Sangiovese, 30% Cabernet Sauvignon, small oak for aging. So then the blend of the Sangiovese, that is the more traditional part, the acidity, and the Cabernet Sauvignon with those ripe tannins, it's a great, great combination.
Do you mind if we try that? We've tried
Oh,
this
no,
other
I
one.
don't.
Brenda?
I want to try some too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
That's a good idea. But I tell you what, all their wines are absolutely marvelous.
Yes.
So go and ask them by name. Go in, mention Nasle, mention Campo al Mare.
Mention the Falinari family.
Right.
You can say Nozzoli too, huh?
I didn't say
Nozzoli.
Nozzoli.
Nozzoli, it's
See,
it
he
works.
said it was okay. He said it was
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, he's a gentleman. That's why. I say it's a Kentucky accent trying to say, I don't know what he's doing. And I asked her in Italy to stop saying, what are you trying to say thank you?
okay.
What was it?
Greve and can't.
Grab.
Greve.
Grazie. Grazie.
It hurt my ears. It just didn't hurt my ears.
See, he didn't
Yeah,
learn
well,
that.
he's a gentleman, as I said. Giovanni Folinari from Tenuta de Nazale, visiting from Greve and Chianti. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
What a
you.
pleasure to see you. Cheers.
What a
Cheers.
treat.
Bottle of wine.
Thank you.
Till the next time, huh?
Yes.
Background
Hello,
after this
everybody.
on Eat This, Drink That, Go.
Go.